Victor. This is Julius, and Julius still has lots of growing left ahead. Believe it or not, boas are very well designed for life in their habitat, the rainforests of Central and South America. And very well camouflaged, be it for life down amongst the rainforest floor or high up in the treetops above.
We are in the Station Mall with Safari Jeff. Jeff, I just had the coolest time watching your show. Welcome to ONNtv.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back. We've had a very busy tour. It's been awesome and very well received. This is something I've done for almost 30 years now. I started when I was 15 years old. I grew up in Ottawa.
I didn't know you're Canadian.
Yes, I am. I get it all day long. Are you from Australia? Where are you from?
Right.
My mom was Newfoundlander, and there is an Ottawa Valley accent, so I get a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. But no, grew up right here in Ontario, which is, a really lucky place to be for someone growing up. There's so much in the great outdoors here, from the turtles to the salamanders and frogs and so on. It's surrounded by amazing nature to see, photograph, and experience.
So you've always had an interest in these creatures?
I have. I've always had an interest in reptiles and amphibians. We still to this day have a family cottage near Ottawa. And as soon as I arrive, I'm always out there turning stones, looking for salamanders and so on. It never grows old. But I've always had an interest in exotic animals, the reptiles especially. Herpetology is the study of reptiles and amphibians, or animals that crawl on their belly, is what herpetology means. Now, I always found myself sharing the animals with people. It's never changed. It's always been fascinating to others to see these animals. And so to share, the right knowledge and information about them, the important roles they play in their natural habitat, there's certainly an obligation to deliver the right education to people. And I think that turns people on to nature. The exotics really hold the attention and captivates the viewer, but it gives me that opportunity to deliver a good message and bring people to a new level, a new understanding of the nature that surrounds us.
And an appreciation of ecology and the environment. I really like that aspect of your show, that when you're talking to the young people, you really do stress about respecting the environment, and when you're out exploring these creatures and stuff, if you're encouraging kids to go and look at nature and explore on their own, but always be respectful of the environment, right?
Right, absolutely. The animals that I share, of course, are born in captivity. They're born here in Canada in different zoos and breeding centers. We'd never take an animal from the wild. That's where they belong. When I was growing up, so many people, and still to this day, a lot of people have a fear of whatever the animal is. Snake's a common one, of course. Maybe it's a snapping turtle around the dock at the cottage. People are nervous about these animals that share territory with us. And so by educating the public about these animals, how passive they are, how positive they can be to the environment, how they can benefit us in our own environment, whether it's around the house or cottage. This is really important. It gives people that newfound appreciation, and ultimately, in the end, protects the environment, protects the animals, and gives us a stronger presence and existence with the nature that surrounds us.
What was it like being your mother and father? Were you always bringing creatures home when you were young?
Yes, indeed. And there's been a few snakes that got loose in the house back in the day. My mom was never, they're very supportive. My family's very supportive, and I wouldn't be where I am today without that support. But they were never big fans of the animals, And back in those days, I had a lot of different exotics. There's a few things that come to mind. Mom would be suntanning out on the deck alongside with my alligator over there, and or she'd wake up from a nap and there's something in the hallway. So there was some sketchy moments, but I've had a lot of interesting animals in my care. I was lucky enough to start as a volunteer. This had a lot to do with my mother, actually. When I was 13 years old, she called the Museum of Natural Sciences in Ottawa and the Herpetology Division or section of the lab, and asked, could you take my son on a guided tour Friday after school, and please talk him out of acquiring this pet crocodile. So I went for that visit on Friday after school, and the curator of the lab was so impressed with the knowledge I had about these animals. The following week, I started as a volunteer. For the next 6 years to come, I was able to work with doctors of herpetology and really gain such a knowledge of these animals and zoology. And of course, I got my pet crocodile as well a week later. But nonetheless, all of these moments have played big roles in my life and bringing me to where I am today. And after 30 years of presenting to the public, you see what the public want to see and hear, how they respond to it with that positive reaction, the right reaction you're looking for, and connection. And so I'm very lucky to do what I do today, and it's all thanks to the support of the public, especially here in Canada.
Now, what about after, as you grew up, okay, so you had this interest and you volunteered, then as far as education goes, can I ask about, did you study? Did you continue to study?
Yes, I mean, a lot of it was self-taught. A lot of it was under Dr. Francis Cook. He was a great herpetologist. I took my first trip to Costa Rica when I was 18 years old. On that trip, I was able to see the animals that I would keep as pets in their natural habitat, you know? So taking the knowledge that I gained from the lab, the experience I had from growing up and the hands-on experience in the great outdoors, and now taking that exotic experience that I gained. At 18, that was my first trip, and I went every year after and spent several years there collectively. So I took all of this and brought that together into the show to share. You see a lot of cinematography. I film in the wild, so that coincides with presenting the animals. I've always said, kids come up and parents come up after the show and ask, little Jimmy or Julie wants to do what you do, or they want to work with animals. Where should they start? Or they have a passion for something. And I've always said, if you have a passion for something, you need to focus on it and really stick to it. When you believe in something, that comes true in the end. It takes a lot of work and dedication. You never know when it's going to happen, but you keep believing and working towards that. And that, that goes along with the education, the experiences you'll gain, all of it surrounding that topic of interest that you have.
Right. Jeff, we have to pause to insert a commercial into our interview, but I'd like to stick and talk with you if you have some more time. I have a few more questions.
I'd love that. I have a few more animals to share.
Oh, fantastic. So stay with us, mornings on TV with Tim and Luann and Riley, who's filling in this week. We'll be right back after this brief message.